Ronda Rousey, probably the greatest woman MMA fighter of all time, right? I gotta give her that because she brought woman MMA to the forefront when nobody cared. You know what I mean? She was outselling, her male co-main events, all main events. She was outselling the males. You know what I mean? Everybody would tune in to watch a Ronda Rousey fight. Now, unfortunately, with Ronda Rousey, she was pretty much one-dimensional. You know what I mean? She had one great armbar, a couple of judo throws and stuff like that. To me, she was a modern-day Horace Gracie in terms of, Gracie at first, was obviously the master of jiu-jitsu when nobody knew what the heck was happening. Nobody knew about the chokes, the anchor locks, the arm bars. Nobody knew about that. The Kimuras. Nobody knew about any of that kind of stuff. And Gracie, UFC 1, UFC 2, he was dominating everybody. He was dominating dudes that he was giving up at least 200 pounds. Only because nobody was skilled at that particular art of self-defense, jiu-jitsu. As the years went by, people got a lot smarter. They started training a lot more. Not just one-dimensional. They were training in boxing, training in jiu-jitsu, training in MMA. All together, they'll put everything together, call it MMA. Like, they were training and getting black belts in jiu-jitsu. They were world-class boxers, like I said. You know what I mean? They were training in karate, every aspect of the martial arts, and putting it together. And once that happened, the Gracie train was done. You know what I mean? Because at that time, he was still only one-dimensional. He was the best, probably, jiu-jitsu guy if you put him in a tournament, maybe. But at the same time, when you had a dude that's also a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's a world-class boxer, a boxer that can knock you out, or a wrestler, whether it be a college wrestler or Olympic wrestler, that's going to cause problems for a one-dimensional fighter, especially jiu-jitsu that's based on locks. You know what I mean? I love jiu-jitsu, but at the end of the day, you get a submission grappler that pretty much knows every single hold a jiu-jitsu superstar would know, but yet he's actually a wrestler. Like, the strength that he has, it's like once he gets on, once he gets you down, you're not coming back up. But once again, back to the point. That's what Ronda Rousey was. She was so skilled at submissions, arm bars, takedowns, judo throws and all that kind of stuff, that she never had to stand up and fight. She never had to swing. She never had to box. So the minute she encountered somebody that had takedown defense, so she couldn't get Holly Holmes down. And when she couldn't do that, Ronda Rousey panicked. She didn't know what to do. She tried to box with Holly Holmes, and Holly Holmes is like, at that time, girl was probably 20, 21, 22 world boxing champion. She did kickboxing as well too. And that's exactly what she did. She kicked off Ronda's face. Ronda was out. Ronda was done. The train stopped. It was over. It was time for a new occupation for Ronda, because she spent so many years just fine-tuning one element of her craft that everybody else caught up, just like Gracie. So when that happened to Ronda, she wasn't humble with it. She just picked up and left the UFC. Never came back, never came to a game. Never came to a match. Never coached, never cornered any of her teammates, never came down to, do a live play-by-play broadcaster. Nothing, no interviews, no nothing. She just left. So the sport that made her, that gave her that name, that put her amongst the elites of professional fighters, she just picked up and left. Gone. Peace. She went into WWF. And here's the thing. With everything you do, especially when it comes to physical activity, because your body always ages, there's always a time when you plateau, when you're not the talk of the town, where you have to bow down to the next generation coming up. But Ronda has always had an issue doing that. She has always had an issue doing that. She has always had an issue representing the next generation, or in terms of wrestling, putting the little young buck over, you know what I mean? Putting the new kid on the block over. She always had issues with that. She never wanted to give the new reign to Holly Holm. She never wanted to give the new reign to the next MMA fighter, because she was always selfish. If it's not the Ronda show, then I don't care. I don't want to be a part of it. If I ain't promoting Ronda Rousey, I don't want to promote nobody else. Look at individuals like Matt Hughes, right? That he's an excellent ambassador to the sports of MMA. His time on top was amazing. And when he departed, when it wasn't time for him to do the thing no more, he purposely and every single day started promoting the next talent. You know what I mean? He got a job with the UFC to promote international talent, to promote the sport of MMA, to promote MMA to the global stage. You know what I mean? Daniel Cormier, everybody, like there's a ton of people. Michael Bisping. BJ was that too before he got a little bit of, personal issues, right? George St. Pierre, very similar. He took off, but he came back. But Ronda Rousey never came back. In fact, the only time she came back is to diss the company that made her who she was. Without the UFC, there'll be no Ronda Rousey. Without Dana, there'll be no Ronda Rousey. Without Joe Rogan, there'll be no Ronda Rousey. I don't think I've ever heard a negative thing come from Joe Rogan towards Ronda Rousey. If anything, Joe Rogan kept up bigging up Ronda Rousey to the point that it was unbearable, man. Like I was like, yo, I can't believe Joe Rogan must be a Ronda Rousey stan. But Joe Rogan was the biggest Ronda Rousey stan. And this is what Ronda Rousey did to repay Joe Rogan. They asked him a question, what do you think about Joe Rogan? Right? And Ronda Rousey said, he's not an expert at all. He's a fan with an audience. He never fought. And Taekwondo, that ain't no fighting. Now, how are you going to come, first of all, diss the organization and diss one of the very few people within that organization that always had your back? This is exactly why MMA does not like Ronda Rousey. Because all she did was take, but she never gave back anything. You know what I mean? I'll give you another quote from Rousey. Ronda Rousey says, in MMA, the second you're not on top, you're not the ish. And you were never the ish. No, that's not true. Because Matt Hughes, BJ Penn, Daniel Cormier, Chuck Liddell, I could keep on going and going. All these dudes were on top, but then they dropped off. but yet they still remained and respected the sport that gave him that name. Ronda Rousey used the UFC and then took off to wrestling, WWE. And when her time was gone in the WWE, you know, now she's angry again, because I think Ronda Rousey is addicted to the spotlight. She's addicted to the fame. She's addicted to being the main focal point of everything. And if it's not about the Ronda Rousey show, then she's like, F all of that. I don't care. And I'm gone. And Ronda Rousey, no doubt, she's the greatest female MMA fighter. Not because she had the most skills, but at a time where nobody cared about women MMA, Ronda Rousey took that realm and brought it, just put it on her back and helped the UFC and women MMA. But at the same time, it was a dual transaction. Without the UFC, there's no Ronda Rousey. You know what I mean? There's always going to be another superstar. After Rousey, there was Conor McGregor, John Jones, It kept on going and going and going. And there's always going to be new kids that's going to come and take over, right? But you cannot ask to be respected when you don't give respect. Ronda Rousey has never given respect to the UFC. She always dogged them out, the fans included. She quit in most of her fights that she had real competition for, and then she just bounced without any notice. And then when you come back, you expect people to embrace you? No. You're the dad that took off on the kids, never came back. And when the kids blew up and got all this money, like Shaq's dad that he said, after the kid blows up, then you come back because you want the money? Where were you? Where were you in the beginning?
I get it on the go, get it on the go. I get it on the go, get it on the go. I get it on the go, get it on the go. I get it.
And I can't hold back this feeling. Oh, what a rush.
Get it on the go, I get it.
And I can't stop fighting this feeling. Now, mic check, the check gets cut. Yeah, that's the movement.